Everyone has a gut feeling. Are you listening to yours? I'm Janine Driver. I'm going to be your host tonight for the Profiler Task Force. Yay, this is our debut show. We've been planning it for months. Listen, it might be a little rough around the edges, but we're here to love you up and to share the super cool shit that we know with you so you can make smarter decisions and protect your family, your friends, and your finances. And I'm so lucky that I get to hang out with three of my favorite friends. And I'd love to start off before we dive into Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Believe it. By the way, barely knew anything about her, knew the name. So I'm so excited to hear what my fellow profilers have to say and to share what I learned about her movement and how it connects to how she makes decisions. So as we dive in, I'd love to introduce the ladies, the profilers. All right, let's start with Susan Ibis. Why don't we start there, sister? Who are you?
Everyone.
What are you all about?
Oh, let's see who I am about. Well, my name is Susan Ibis. I'm known from human behavior hackers. Some people hack computers. I hack humans. My specialty is face reading profiling with without mask. And today we're going to unveil how she evolved from that tiny, shiny, timid girl to this amazing person thinking outside the box. Is mind-blowing, the changes she have on the face. And that's what we're going to be talking from today and to all the shows.
So she went from timid to notorious, right? She's the notorious.
Definitely. Yeah, and we're going to see how. It's amazing. You're going to get mind-blowing.
I'm so excited. I love this. All right, let's pass it over to you, my sister, Lina Cisco, my fellow blondie. What's up, sister? Who are you? Tell the world about you, how amazing you are, Lina Cisco.
Oh, amazing. Okay, well, I am a former Navy intel officer and Marine Corps certified interrogator, and I did interrogate detainees down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, shortly after 9/11. Since that time, I have been still interrogating and interviewing, and I did a TV show for 3 years as an expert witness catching lies. But I've also been training law enforcement, government agency personnel, military personnel for, gosh, 2 decades in interrogation, detecting deception, elicitation, body language, and a couple of others.
That's all. Yeah, that's all. Even if it wasn't for that Rhode Island accent, everyone would think you were Jennifer Aniston.
Yes.
Yeah, when I open my mouth, I give it away.
And last but not least, my dear friend, Michelle Dresbold, who you and I were up for a TV show years ago and remained in contact. Michelle, introduce yourself.
Well, hello, I'm Michelle Dresbold, and I am a handwriting expert. And I am trained in knowing almost everything about a person from their handwriting. I can tell what motivates them, what holds them back, how intelligent they might be, maybe what religion they are, if they're a criminal, what type of weapon they might use. I can tell pretty much everything. Like, are you good in bed? So, so tonight we're going to learn a lot about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her handwriting.
All right. I hope we're not talking about whether she was good in bed or not, because like my brain can't like go there.
That much I might not go there tonight.
You keep that stuff to yourself.
Yeah, there's some things that are private.
Yes, there you go. All right.
Sorry, there are things that are private, but not to us. The four of us cover all the channels on behavior. So it's no way to hide, no email, no voice message, no video. We can find you and know everything about you. The four of us together make a supercomputer processor. So be aware.
And we love you anyway, because listen, we all make mistakes. I got to tell you, none of us are perfect. We are works in progress. I said, I just uploaded on my computer, my mental computer software, work in progress. So we're excited that you're here. Welcome to our first show with RGB. And we had another topic and we're like, we've got to talk about RGB, so I'm thrilled to get the party started. And let me introduce you to who is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, second woman to be in that high level in the legal system. And it's a true honor to have our debut show be on the notorious RGB. So who was Ruth Bader Ginsburg? I love this picture about her with her gloves and being so hip. She was funny and charming and smart and loved music and loved her family, and she cared about human beings. And it's interesting, even in the final couple of years of her life, people would try to like egg her on in the media to get her to say, we have a bad political system right now or bad president. And she just would not take the bait. And people would say, we have so much further to go with women's rights and pay. And she would be the first person to say, and we've come so far. She was so just classy on acknowledging how far we've come and still having a ways to go. And she loved her family. She loved her husband. She used to talk about his cookbook and say that he's the best cook in the whole entire world and we should all buy his book, and loved her children, and just a fabulous person. I don't think she became as famous. She wasn't as famous in her early years as she was in her later years. And all of a sudden, everybody knew, she cared about women's rights and LGBTQ, community plus, anyone that was being discriminated against in one way or another. And man, in her last days of her life, I've watched so many interviews we all have here on the team, and her memory was so incredible. She could remember case laws and what they were called and what the outcome was. And she passed away not too long ago in 2020. And we are super honored to launch our first debut show of the Profiler Task Force on the marvelous and wonderful RGB. So let's dive in. First, we're heading over to Miss Michelle Dresbold.
Hello. There's so much about RBG, but right before I get into her handwriting, I just want to say one thing. If you're female, which I think all of us are, unless some of us had a sex change, if we have a credit card in our own name, we have to thank RBG. If you are female and you get a mortgage and you don't have to have a husband's signature or a father's signature, guess who we have to thank? RBG. If you're married and your husband abuses you and you take him to court, who do we have to thank? RBG. So she's a fascinating, wonderful, wonderful, brilliant woman. And let's look at some of her handwriting. Let's look at her signature and let's see what it says. Let's look at RBG's signature, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, a lot of times when something is very important to a person, you will find some symbol in their signature. I want you to look at her R of Ruth and see what it looks like to you. And I'm going to tell you what it is. Next slide. Do you see?
It looks like that.
It is. It's a music symbol. You see, people put things in. Sometimes it's on purpose. They stylize it. And sometimes it's just so much part of their brain and their mind. It's so much part of them. It's right in their signature. If you look at that R, it's just a music symbol. Music was so important to her. In fact, she used to play the cello and she loves the opera. And there it is. You wouldn't have to ask too much. It's right there in her signature. Why don't we look at some more of her handwriting? I was trying to show that this is her handwriting, and notice it goes uphill. You will find uphill handwriting in people who have energy, enthusiasm, and drive. And I've looked at handwriting of all different types of people, and the one thing in common with successful people is their handwriting goes uphill. It doesn't matter if you're the successful criminal, a successful lawyer. Uphill handwriting is that drive you need. Now, she was very ill for much of her life, but what does it show? No matter what, nothing could stop her.
That's what I was going to ask, Michelle, really quick, is that if you're having a bad day, does your handwriting change just for that day? Like, I'm not feeling good, I'm under the weather. Can it change that day and then go back, or no?
If you're really going through a trauma, whether it's physical or emotional, it can affect your handwriting. And there will be little pieces in the handwriting. If you all of a sudden see your handwriting, like I have uphill handwriting, if all of a sudden my handwriting is slowly going downhill, I have to stop and go, what is really going on? Why am I depressed? So you can be very aware of your handwriting, and it can change. It doesn't change minute to minute, but it will change gradually. So if you're going through a very hard time in your life, your handwriting will change because it reflects what's going on in your mind.
What else did you learn about her handwriting, Michelle?
Well, why don't we look at another slide? I enjoyed this one. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has a very unique signature. And in handwriting, anything that's high, think of your neck on up, your upper loops, your anything that's high goes on what's in your head. Your middle, which is your heart, your lungs, your breathing, are your O's, your A's, all those middle letters like the UTH in her name. Those are called your middle zone. And that's your everyday mundane things. And your lower loops are what goes on from your belly button down, your energy, your physical drive. Now, notice that where Ruth Bader Ginsburg emphasizes two zones, the upper zone, the head, and the long G. The upper zone, again, everything is going on in her head. She's a thinker. She also loved to exercise. She exercised almost every day of her life. But that middle zone, the UTH at Bader, is really teeny weeny weeny. Now, I drew this other one of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and that's all middle zone. That would be the person who loves to take care of the dishes, cooks, is the homebody. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg was not a homebody. And in fact, as genius as she was, there was one thing she didn't know how to do, and that was turn on the stove. And if we see the next slide, it's just a quote. Her husband said, Ruth is no longer permitted in the kitchen by demand of our children who have taste. It was on her cooking. So you can't be perfect. If you were looking for somebody who's going to stay home and take care of everything, it wouldn't be Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But if you wanted a genius, you got her. And her husband, she wouldn't have fit everybody. Her husband would go at 2 a.m, pick her up from work, and literally carry her home and say, it's time to go home and go to bed. So
at the end of her life, I remember hearing her say that at the end of her life there, her daughter would come and make her a bunch of meals, and they'd put them in the fridge and freezer because she hated cooking so much.
Yeah, I saw a documentary. She's showing on the fridge all the food that their family do for her, because if it's not, she's not going to be eating.
Right. Well, she just, mundane things, that's for other people, not for her. So anyhow, let's look at one more slide. Now, this one is, what does RBG have in common with Albert Einstein? Next slide.
Okay.
Their handwriting is actually quite similar. I want you to notice, if you look at Ginsburg, even her whole handwriting is sort of like this print writing. It's a little cursive, a little printing. I'd like you to just try one thing. My name's Michelle. Pretend in the ear that you're cursiving Michelle, everybody. And dot the I, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E. Now, did any of you just go M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E and go back and dot the I?
That's what I did.
What about you, Lina?
I dotted it right when I did
Oh, okay. What about you, Susan?
I did the same. I dotted when I did it, not at the end.
I went back.
I'm afraid. What happened
which one of these do you think is faster? Janine or Lina? Who's faster in writing?
Janine.
No.
I was thinking, but I have a funny feeling that's wrong.
It's wrong. Actually, if you, let's say Ginsburg, G-I, dot the I right away, where's your hand at the end? It's ready to move forward. So when you have somebody and they dot their I's right away, especially if they're at the beginning of the word, you have someone who's usually very intelligent, often an artist, a creator, or spokesperson. Now, Albert Einstein, I put an arrow there, and you can see the reason there's a little gap after the I is because he dotted it right away. And so when you see that, you usually have people of superior intelligence. But just because you do it the other way doesn't mean you're not very, very intelligent. It means you can still be, but you like things in more of an order.
I think I need a timeout. I think you just said I'm the dumb one in the group.
No. I said
That's
that.
what I heard.
Wait. I only know that, Michelle, you're really good for my ego. Thank you very much. You made my day.
But I'll tell you though, a lot of engineers, people who like things very logical, they will write the whole things out and then they'll dot the I later. They like things sort of done in a system. So one doesn't mean it's more intelligent than the other. It's just that a different way of thinking. And when they dot the I right away, it's always somebody who has that little extra edge So Janine, start dotting your I's right away.
Okay, I'll give it a go. I always like the flow of it all, and it's so funny because I like the system. So I feel like stopping it, like maybe it's my ADHD. It's almost like if I stop, I'm afraid I don't know. I don't know. You're the expert. Tell me.
I have a question regarding signature because you make me think. Most of these intelligent people, they write their complete name on the signature. In my case, it's my initials and just happen S-I. So I make the sign $, that's my signature, S and I, Susan Ivett. So I realized until somebody told me that I'm signed the sign $, on my signature. How much therapy should I have?
A real lot.
How about Lina? How about you, Stan?
But it's a difference between the person who write all the name or the signature or the initials on their name when you sign it. It has to do with the personality. What is the difference?
Every little thing you do has to do with your personality because it's a choice. Why do you choose not to show your whole name? And it really means that you choose not to really show all of yourself to other people. So there's a little, so somebody whose name, you can read it, it's clear, it's the whole name. Here I am, see me, know about me. But if you're just doing your initials or squiggling, it's like, nah, you don't really need to know me. So that's what that means. So Susan, we don't really know you.
So Michelle, Lina, and Janine, I want to know how your signatures are because now I need to talk to my therapy again.
Lina, what about you? What's your signature? Do you have any?
I do a big L and then I do an S and an O. So yeah, I guess I
LSO.
Yeah.
Oh.
LSO.
But get to know Susan. You're similar.
I do something, and I don't exactly. I think I know what it means, but when I sign my name, Michelle, I do a thing underneath, like I do a line with a squiggle, like I'm on a stage or something.
Perfect. I do that too. No, that's great. When you put a simple line underneath your name, it means here I am. Notice me. I should be on stage. I like a little recognition, and I think I'm pretty great. And that's a wonderful thing to do. Too much, like if you sign, like some people have 12 lines under their name. That means look at me, and that's.
I have like 2.5 because I like go straight and then I go wiggle, wiggle.
You know what? That's perfect. It means just what you are. You are a very good in front of people. You are a wonderful speaker, and so you should be noticed. So I'm
going to say that comment balanced out the earlier comment. Kind of, said that I was kind of.
No. Genius. We're all genius, but you are a genius who needs a little stage.
I love it. I'm going to stop and start dotting. Anything else you want to share about RGB before or RBG?
Oh wait, we don't.
That's a little,
Michelle. Michelle, you didn't tell us how is your signature.
Nice.
My signature is very readable. I mean, I cannot make my signature like sloppy. It's very readable, and like Janine, I put a line underneath.
And you belong on a stage too, my dear.
So that's why on this side were the lines. You were the ones who don't let people know you.
All right, RBG, anything else on her handwriting before we bounce over to Lina Cisco?
Really, the only other thing about her handwriting is that her handwriting is very similar from like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Very little change. Of course, as she got older, her handwriting got a little more angular, which means you have physical issues. But if you look at her handwriting, it has very little change between the years. She is who she may have matured, but she is who she is who she was, and who you saw was who you got throughout the years.
One last question. For people who say handwriting analysis, that stuff's bullshit. What do you say to that?
Poo on them. No, what I say is the reason I really find handwriting analysis so fascinating is that you have a choice in every mark you make on the page. You can choose to write large. You can choose to write small. You can choose to slant to the left or to the right, or print or cursive. It's a choice from your brain. So I am reading your choices. It's not like fortune telling where you look at somebody's palm and go, oh, this line means that. You have no choice in any of that. But I am just reading the choices that somebody puts on a page, which is really their brain print.
I love that. I heard once that if you lose your hands and you start writing with your teeth or your feet, your handwriting strokes go back up almost pretty similar. Is that true?
Yes. If you have at first, because you will not have motor control skills, you break your right arm, you start to write with your left hand, it will look a little different, but the same traits are there. If Albert Einstein, he would still dot his I right away. So the same traits, and if somebody writes with their toe, I need to identify somebody and they write with their toe or their mouth, the same traits will come out. I'll still be able to identify them.
You are the coolest person on planet Earth.
Thank you.
All right, another cool person on planet Earth. Let's go over to my fellow blonde-headed profiler, Miss Lina Cisco, badass interviewing the Taliban at the Guantanamo 9/11. I'll never forget. So Lina, when she does a keynote speech in the old days, I don't know if you do it anymore, Lina, would show the second airplane, which I watched live on television, hitting the World Trade Center, and Lina showed a picture and said, and you look at it, so you don't really know where she's going with it, and then she goes, I woke up one day and my job was to figure out who did that. The audience is like, they stop breathing almost, they're like, oh, I'm Lina Cisco. All right, Lina, take it over, sister. RBG, what did you find out about her with statement analysis and interrogation? I don't know how you used interrogation on such a fabulous person. So
I didn't interrogate her. But I found a video, and all I needed to do was listen to, I think, 1.5 minutes, and we're going to show it to you guys. And I just want to concentrate on how her pattern of speech is and the words that she chooses to use and talk a little bit about that. So first, I'm going to share that video with you all so you can watch it.
Think of when I grew up at the time of World War II. The irony was we were fighting a war against racism. And yet, by an executive order of President Roosevelt, people who had done nothing wrong, except they were of Japanese ancestry, were interned in camps far from their homes. That was a dreadful mistake. It took a long time for the United States to realize how dreadful it was. But ultimately, the President acknowledged that there was no reason to intern people of Japanese ancestry, and Congress passed a bill providing compensation for the people who were interned or their survivors.
But do you see echoes in that kind of historical story in the present day?
Well, I would say that we are not experiencing the best of times. But there's hope in seeing how the public is reacting to it. The Women's March, I've never seen such a demonstration, both the numbers and the rapport of the people in that crowd. There was no violence. It was orderly. So yes, we are not experiencing the best of times, but there's reason to hope that we will see a better day.
So I just want to repeat her answer, okay? And I'm going to read it because I don't want to get it wrong. She says, she pauses before she takes that answer, and she pauses for a while. She takes a deep breath, and then she says, I would say we are not experiencing the best of times. Before she answers this question, she hesitates. While she's speaking and actually saying this narrative statement, she avoids eye contact. Now, and Janine can attest to this, when we teach people how to detect deceptions, we teach people that those two things could mean that they're lying, right? Hesitation or stalling tactic and avoiding eye contact. But here's the thing. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg repeats this or says this narrative statement, she goes down, she drops her eyes, she takes a deep breath. That deep breath tells me there's maybe a little bit of anxiety, maybe cortisol is releasing. She's taken a deep breath. She says her statement. When she drops her eyes, they anchor to down and to the right. When people tend to really talk about something that's emotional and they have a lot of feeling towards it, they will tend to drop their eyes down and to the right, because that's where we're going to that kinesthetic spot, right? And I'm sure you've all heard of NLP eye pattern movement analysis, where if you go up and to the right, you're lying, and up and to the left, you're telling the truth. Well, let me just tell you, I use NLP eye pattern movements to detect deception, and it is super accurate for me. One of the most accurate things, but you have to know how to use it. It is not just looking up that chart and saying, oh, every human being follows that chart, because they don't. You have got to baseline people's eye pattern movement analysis. When you do, and it doesn't take long at all, then you can get some accurate, good information to see whether or not someone is accessing truthful memories from their episodic memory or false memories that are being made up from their semantic. But that's another conversation.
I want to chime in really quick, Lina. When I was trying to learn that, I thought I'm downright angry. So versus down left, it's like, how do I remember that? And that expression, like I was downright livid. If you just think of that expression and you see someone's eyes, it might help people to say, oh, that's an emotional experience. Do you find that a lot with RBG when you were watching her? Did she have those kinesthetic moments often, or was this a unique time?
Well, to me, I didn't watch a lot of videos of her, but I found this one because that's where I saw it. And for me, it's definitely not an indicator of deception. So that's why I chose this little clip.
No, I love it. That's awesome. Anything else?
I love the downright. So when she's speaking, she also starts to rapid eye blink. So she's still avoiding eye contact. So the deep breath and the rapid eye blink tell me that cortisol has released, because when it does, we start to dry out in the mouth and in the eyes. And so she starts to do this. And then as soon as she's done answering that question, she comes right back up. She has good eye contact with the interviewer. And here's the key ingredient. Her rate of speech increases back to normal. So while she was saying or answering that one question, she paused and hesitated. She dropped her eyes. She did that rapid eye blinking, and her rate of speech slowed down significantly. But here's the deal. I didn't see any indicators of deception. So what that tells me is that this is a classy woman, right? And we have already said this before. This is a well-educated woman who carefully chooses her words. She knows that what comes out of her mouth is exactly how it's meant to be. And so she was either taken off guard with that question and thought, you know what? I need to really carefully choose my words to answer this because I don't want to offend anyone, or I just don't know the answer. So people will hesitate for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're hesitating to answer you because they have to try to remember their rehearsed lie, and that takes time. Number two, they're hesitating because you ask them a question that they have to make up a lie right away. Number three, they're hesitating because they weren't prepared for that question and they have to think of how to answer it. And they may not even know the answer, but they've been put on the spot in an interview and have to come up with something. And then number four, they may hesitate because they're just trying to choose their words to make sure they are coming out and saying exactly what they want to say. And I love the fact that when she answered that question, she used the pronoun we. She didn't say the American people are going or experiencing not the best times, or our country. She said we. And what does that tell you? She is a people person, and that she is inclusive, and that she is right there with us. And I think, Michelle, you covered that as well.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fascinating. I thought, what's the flip side of the word we when it comes to criminals, like, or a woman that said she was attacked, right? Isn't there like a where we could actually be a bad thing? Because you're saying we is a good thing here.
Bingo.
When is we a bad thing?
So usually when I'm interviewing, I look for the I's and my's, right? Those are possessive pronouns. When people say I and my, it means they're taking accountability and responsibility for the act, the event, or what they said. When people don't say I and my, and they replace it with you, they, or them, or we, I have to pay attention because I want to know, why are you distancing yourself from it? So if you guys remember Anthony Weiner, when he was asked, did he send the tweet? And he did an interview, his response was, well, we're trying to figure out who sent it. Who's where, right? It should be, I'm trying to figure out who sent it, but he couldn't say that. Why? Because it was a lie, because he sent it. So yes, the absence of I and my can indicate distancing, which could indicate deception. But in this instance, this is a person who's saying we, because we're talking about society, and I am part of that society, and I stand with my people.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Michelle and Susan, do you have any questions for Lina so far on RBG?
How important your knowledge coming to online dating? And don't take me wrong, I have friends who what we do on Saturday night is they put the booze, I put the brain, and we're going through profiles. And as soon as I see a profile who says, love skating, outdoor, excellent, like, what is the I? I love. But if they says not I, it's like this guy is made in a profile only to look good, the same way an email, the same way in a business proposal. But I always says, if you know how to date, you know how to sell. So in those two focus, you can find the absence of I and we, and that's where, oh my God, let's dig deeper.
Do you get asked that dating questions, Lina? Do people ask you?
You know, they don't, surprisingly. I'm open though. Ask away.
I do. I once had a friend who got an email and the guy wrote something to the effect of, oh, my dream girl is this, my dream girl is that. After the beginning, he had only put her name in. And then I said to her, I said, do you realize that you're not her dream girl? Because when he talks about my dream girl, he takes out your name. Mm-hmm. So I find, whether it's dating or life, statement analysis and all these, everybody here who is giving a little trait, that really can make your life so much better. So
that's awesome. Anything else? That's awesome, Michelle. That's so funny. Lina, anything else about RBG that you want to share with us before we move over to Susan Ibis?
Well, I will say one last thing, which I found really fascinating, was that she was best friends with a conservative, and which just tells me we can all get along. And then it even goes right back to why she uses we, right? It's not you, it's not they or them, it's us.
Yeah, I saw something about her. I love that you brought that up, Lina, where she said, even if they had different opinions, they had a tradition of shaking hands. So they would all shake hands. If it was someone's birthday, they had champagne or wine. They all went to dinner together, no matter what. And if there was a new judge that came on, the judge before them put together this big party. And she said they were her best friends and they traveled together around the world and they did so much. And I think it says a lot about what your point was, Lina. You can have someone with a different opinion than you and get along. There's a way to figure it out. Just even something simple. We can't shake hands now, but I love that system. I love that. Lina, that was fascinating. Thank you so much. I can't wait. I'm going to go rewatch that clip. That was great. Let's pass it over to you, Susan Ibis. Let's find out about RBG's face, the notorious
I want
RBG.
to say something about Lina's book. She says, I need to find a common denominator when she was in Guantanamo, and says, we both stuck here and we both like tea. So you always find something in common, even with people that you maybe don't like, but as humans, we always have something in common. It's about to find that. And I have recorded that in your book, Lina, in my head here. And we are stuck here and we all like tea. So we always have something to find in common.
So what do the four of us have in common about our faces, other than we have two eyes, a nose, and a mouth?
Well, apparently since Michelle says Lina and I, we're kind of shooters and snipers, and you two girls are more like playful. So I would say that all of are playful, but it's something that we have. You see the chin? The four of us has a big chin, and most of us has, Michelle, you have more square chin. Lina, you have more a pointy chin, and Janine, you have a pointed chin, meaning that myself and Michelle are straightforward. Like if you get mad, it's like a knife on your throat. You prefer to have your fingers against the wall than to listen to us. We look like it's okay now. But Lina and Janine, when they talk, are like a bullet. Michelle and I are hard, but Janine and Lina is like, oh my God, I just bullet crossed my brain between my eyes. The pointy eyebrow, the pointy chin is, did you see, girls, don't take it in the wrong way. You see Disney movies, when you see the witches, they have the pointy.
I just can't win tonight. I just can't win. That's like 2 marks again. Now you're going to have to turn around and it's got to be something about my eyebrows that make me.
But let me tell you something, Janine, from all of us, you have the rounded face. We like babies for a reason, babies and puppies, because they have round face. So you have the round face who make you likable, approachable, and people like you. People like you because you're raw and you're unapologetically yourself. and people is drawn to you. So your chin is how you communicate to people when you're pissed off. But the reason why people is drawn to you is for round face. And by the way, you have a big zone 1. Has to do with the brain. You have the same zone 1 that Einstein have. So here we go, girl. I made your night.
All right. Enough about us. Let's go over to the notorious RBG. What did you find out?
Let me tell you, she did some changes in her life that they're going to blow your mind. Let me show you how she changed from 18 to 80s in her face. Okay, 2 things that is striking me about her. First of all, you see the hairline. You're going to see when she was 18 on the first picture on the left, her hair is round. In 1977, her hair started getting pointy. We call it the widow peak. Marilyn Monroe had the same feature. What it means? She can disappear and be invisible or be present. That's the way that her strategy was, playing dumb on the corner until it was the right time to strike. So she was a strategic person. Another thing, can you see the difference in the eyebrows? You can change the thickness of the eyebrows because you pluck more hair or less hair. But you can see on the first picture, the eyebrow was straightforward, facts and data. She want to go directly to the point. She got married. She went to the university. She had the kids. She graduated, went to look for a job until she found out the knowledge is more important than facts and data. Why? Can you see how her eyebrows start going to go more pointy? Another thing, when she was younger, her eyebrows were thinner, meaning that she was really critical with herself. How do I know that too? You can see the chin. She have a small chin. Now, 15 years later, she have a bigger square chin. She become more the bulldog that we know as she was after. And by the way, has nothing wrong to be a bulldog. Sometimes when you're a woman and you're like, I told you, Janine, your chin or Michelle, that we are like, okay, let's go do it. Let's go for it. I will not going to be excusing for who I am. Again, unapologetically yourself, that what she become. Another thing, you can see the crooked tooth. That's meaning that you're stubborn as a mule. Your standards are higher than anybody else and nobody can hurt you. Why? Because you're your worst critic. Now, let's go to the next picture. Now, something that I want to show that it's amazing. You can see the ears. You're going to see Michelle, Janine, I know you love ears high and low. So she had a small ears, meaning that she was visual. She need to see the cases. She need to see what is going on. And she have really high ears. Can you see from the end of the eye? If you drew a line, you're going to see the ears are stopping above. But most important, you can see, guys, how the ears are attached to the head. What if I tell you that 10 years later, her ears changed 180 degrees? Can you see the mouth, how it changed too? She had a small mouth, meaning that she was shy and she didn't talk too much. And you can see how the mouth changed and become bigger and the lower lip become fuller because she starts spoken her words and not being apologetic for what she think. And now you can see again, you see the eyebrows getting thicker and pointier, meaning that she was a shiny person, really critical to start and finishing everything that she does and be a doer. And she was based on knowledge. Knowledge was her superpower, and we know that. Now, 1993. Can you see the top of the ears? Can you see the difference?
Yeah, they pop out from her head now.
Yeah. Do you know what it means? Another thing, you can start seeing graving lines. she started having grieving lines. And doesn't happen when you're smoking. I'm a smoker, but I don't have grieving lines. Why? Because I learned that if you don't do your process of grieving, those lines are going to show up. Another thing, do you know the kind of
you're saying the word grieving, right? Like sad and grieving?
Grieve and sad. Yeah. If something happened to your health or you lose somebody you love, I went to a basketball game and I was with a friend who introduced me with another friend and says, how long since that woman lost one of her kids? And he looked at me like, how you know that? Because the deeper of the line who start on the top of the nose, on the bottom of the nose, and go all the way to the lower lip only happen when a mother lost a kid.
From the here in the middle, like where?
So from the bottom of the nose, you see the tip of the nose, those lines start and ended. When they ended on the upper lip is normal grieving. When they go through and continue on your chin, that is only see it on Auschwitz survivors and people who have lost kids. And it's terrible. But when I see that in someone and I'm doing a live reading and says, can we talk after? And the first thing I say is like, when you're going to start grieving, because until then, those wrinkles are not going to disappear. You know what is the crazy part? I saw people erasing wrinkles, not for treatment, for going through the process of grieving.
I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight then, because I've got a lot happening in wrinkles right here.
Honey, we can do a private. Don't worry. You have the profiler on the team. Now, I want to point some things. You see the lines? And you see this little line on the top of the lip? You're going to see those lines in the royals and people who need to smile from the camera. So even though when she wasn't feeling like to, she was a positive person. It's not that she was fake. She always portrayed a smile to lift other people up. And how you know is a positive person who tried the best to lift other people up when you saw this little line. Now, you can see the chin. Now, you see this line between the lower lip and the chin, this line?
My mother used to have that, by the way.
I'm sorry?
My mother used to have this, like this Jay Leno chin with this little line right there.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Because I have a deep one.
Okay, you don't like to be or don't need to be recognized in public. But if you take the trash, if I take care of your kids, come to me and says, Mama, big hug. Thank you for taking care of my kids. You know, they're the most precious thing in my life. And thank you for giving me the chance to have a weekend off because I need it. Don't post it on Facebook. Don't do a big party. Just go and tell them, thank you, a thank you note, or just grab the favorite chocolate and give it to her. That's the reason she have such a good relationship with her husband, because her husband privately nourish her and pamper her. That's the line. And another thing, you can see the hair, how we change it, the pointy.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
You see, it's difficult. When people says your face doesn't change with years, it's like, oh, dude, you don't know anything about face reading.
How does this happen? How do her ears pop out? How do the hair grow? How does her eyebrows get pointier and bushier? Like, how is that happening?
Okay, I'm going to show you a picture. It's going to blow your mind. Can you see the ears?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Only people,
they poke me in the eye.
Yeah. Only people who think outside the box. If you're looking for all the people who invented the iPad, Steve Jobs, all the people who have been revolutionary, why is so difficult to pronounce? From Einstein to Steve Jobs, you're going to see that the ears are stick out. Now, in my case, for example, in my business side, that is this part, my ear is stick out. In my personal side, that is this side, my stick is next to the head. I'm a domesticated cat in my private life, but I'm a wild tiger and adrenaline junkie in my job. So I have a balance. It's nothing wrong with that. The person you see is not the person that you're going to see at home. But in her case, she was outside the box in both. And Michelle, you mentioned how traditional was at the age she got married that the man was in charge of cooking, meaning that she was untraditional on her law and her personal life. Another thing, can you see the bottom, the tip of the nose in both? It's round. That has to do with creativity. That's the reason her outlet was music. Another thing. Can you see the nose at the end? The nose get down. The nose get down when you're not optimistic or you believe the things are going to go the way you want to. And you can see the mouth, last one. You see the mouth was straight.
Hold on. You're giving me too much at once. My brain's trying to catch up to you.
Sorry, I do that all the time.
I know you get excited about it. This is new stuff to me, and it's probably you at home too. Go back to the nose thing. Are you saying her nose does come down a little bit, and it means what?
You see the nose was thinner and straight. Yes. And when she was older, was thicker and came on the top, came down.
Yes.
Another thing, you can see the groove on the top of the nose, on the tip of the nose, and she didn't have it before, meaning that she become we. What Lina says, how I know when a person come up we, when you have this line on the tip of the nose, meaning that you're a team player. You like to work with another people. I developed that when I start doing my own private consulting and I need to hire people and learn to work in a team. That's changed it. So her mouth too changed. She was straight, like she was optimistic, to mouth turned down. That she stopped being optimistic. So between the nose and the mouth, she was always ready for the when thing hit the fan. Last one. This is the woman at 18, and this is the woman before she died. Last one. When you see this line on top of the eyebrows, you see the like L-shaped lines. Those are meaning that people is skeptical. They do not gonna believe you until you prove them that your certification is not only paper on the wall, that you know what you know and you're gonna show it. So that's the way I know that she was about knowledge. The pointy eyebrows, the lines, you see the nose down? You see how down it was the nose?
Yes.
It's incredible. So this was her face reading. We can go for 2 hours. Her face is like a map, a GPS to the brain, and it's amazing. And the funny part is I can relate to all of you. Michelle for your handwriting, Lina with the we, and Janine, I know your MPA and how you evaluate, and that's how we can relate to others. So I cannot wait for your report and your analysis so we can put everything together.
Thank you. Yes, before we go over to the body language and land this plane, our first episode is almost in the bucket. Lina and Michelle, any questions of Susan with RBG?
Well, I have a question. With age, your face kind of sinks. And so, and your nose gets longer. So is everybody who gets, as they age, get more skeptical and more negative because your nose, everybody's nose changes and everybody's face kind of, I wish it would all go up, but without a lot of extra work, it's not going to happen. So, I mean, how much of that is just genetic of getting older?
It's called, first of all, it's called epigenetics. Our face change naturally every 7 years. And funny, because we are the happiest when we are 18 and we become happier when we are 60. So that's all the major changes in your life. I did a study, a private study with twin brothers between 20 and 60, and I took pictures, and you can see they're identical twins and people cannot identify them, and I can identify and know when they went through. And the first study I did was in Auschwitz survivors. When twins were captured and the other not, the face is changed completely. And the ones who went through divorce, sickness, money problems, losing of the loved ones, you can see different wrinkles. And how is possible if one is twins, another one is the one who are on the same sack or different sack. I'm sorry, twins. So what is the other one?
One's identical and one's fraternal.
Yeah, one. The identicals, when you started studying them after the age of 20, that's the best age to start studying people from 20 to 60. I can tell you what happened, who have a scholarship in football, who was heartbroken, if they have any health issues. So your face, if we, all of us, took a picture on the 50s and put it together, we're going to see that our faces evolve with our emotions, and it's a map of your life. I cannot tell you the future, but I can tell you how you process information, how I need to talk to you, and what happened to your life. So I know what kind of empathy I need to use to talk to you, to get to you.
Thank you, Susan. That's awesome. Lina, are we good? Do you have any questions?
I'm going to ask her a bunch of questions offline about my
About this.
I mean, you look like hot like rock. Don't worry.
I think that's good. My name's Janine Driver. I'm your host for tonight. We're going to be mixing it up, and you'll see some of the other profilers being hosts in future episodes. I'm so excited you're here. I'm the body language expert. So let's check out the body language with RBG, and in particular about being judgmental. Was RBG judgmental? And if she was, is there a flip side to being judgmental? Is there a good side of being judgmental? You know, we get a bad rap for that word. And I'm going to explore, what does her body movement indicate about her being judgmental or not? Let's dive in. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the notorious RBG. I was excited, so I'm known as a body language expert. And, we all dabble, by the way, all four of us profilers, we all dabble in a splash of handwriting and body language and reading the face and interrogation and statement analysis. And we've all decided to stay in our lane, which is our expertise. So I'm known as a body language expert. However, I'm also known as a profiler with regard to how we make decisions and how that connects back to our movement. And I think you might not be surprised to know, out of there's 8 billion people approximately on planet Earth, billion with a B. So that's not surprising. It's probably also not surprising that we make decisions differently. What may surprise you, though, is that how we make decisions connects to how we move our bodies. So literally how you move your body is different than me. And that's going to influence the outcome of our decision-making process, our gathering research, our decision-making deliberation, that, reasoning why we're going to do it, and then the execution, the results of our decisions. It all connects back to movement. So I love metaphors and analogies and storytelling. It just helps me to understand things. So for here, I brought a carrot. So I'd love let's play a game. And we've got Susan and Lina and Michelle and Bugs Bunny, and we have you at home. And I give you all a carrot, and I say you each have to eat the carrot differently. And maybe Lina does this julienne fancy thing, and maybe Michelle does this fine julienne thing. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. And Lina Cisco just says, I don't have time for that. I'm just going to eat it like it is. And Bugs Bunny, dices it into medium dices. So we all, and Susan does something different. Who ate the carrot correctly? Like, who cut it up the right way? I'm going to challenge you to think of the carrot like a decision, an opportunity, a problem, a challenge. Right? So the carrot is the opportunity. Here's this opportunity. Here's this problem. Here's this challenge. How you dice it up is going to change maybe the result. Which way is the best way? Maybe today your way is the best way, but maybe tomorrow your way backfires. My way is just my way, and your way is your way. In my world, we call this movement pattern analysis. We move in a pattern which can be analyzed. So if we look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg here, you just saw her do this movement. She has this movement. She does this movement. These two movements, we call it descending and rising. She's just ticking like a tick-tock, right? From one side of her chair to another and just moving. These two moves, she does quite a bit. As a matter of fact, there's 4 specific moves she does quite often. We only have time to talk about these 2 tonight. Maybe I'll give you a sneak peek online in our after show if you're a Patreon follower and part of our team, to the other 2 moves. Now, maybe you make these moves. I know I do. It connects with evaluating. Evaluating is weighing pros and cons. It's prioritizing. It's why does this matter? The why lives here. And if you were to watch an interview with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you would see that she'll adjust in her chair to the side quite a bit. Now, at home, you're probably thinking maybe what the ladies are thinking here. This makes no sense. Like, she's just older in these videos. She's just uncomfortable. She's just adjusting in her seat. Yes, to all of those. And I got to tell you, I thought this stuff was nuts when I first learned it myself at Columbia College in Chicago. So what I discovered while I was at this program is that literally there's 12 movements we all make, and they connect to our decisions. So I could adjust in my chair like this. Maybe I come forward, maybe I just do this. Maybe I barely move at all. So it depends on how often we do these movements. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg did these 2 movements the most out of all the 12 movements. Let's dive into this behavioral fingerprint. Just like we have a regular fingerprint, we have a behavioral fingerprint. What that means is you may have experienced this. You're in the grocery store or back in the day before COVID at a movie theater, and you're like, wait a minute, is that my neighbor? Is that my sister? And you think you see someone you know, but you don't hear their voice. You don't see their face. It's just something in the way they move, which I think is some like famous song. There's something in the way she moves. So I think it's a famous song. So it's something in the way that we move. I don't know if you remember the riots, ladies, that they had in Baltimore a while ago now, the police riots. And there was this one woman, a Black mother, and she was standing with the police and behind the shields. And she sees on the other side, someone throwing a brick at the police. He has a mask on his face. She goes around the police, walks over to that boy, holding this brick in his hand, and starts beating the living daylights out of that kid. Guess what? That kid was her son. But how did she know it was her son? He was wearing a mask. Well, she knew it was her son because he has a behavioral fingerprint. Your behavioral fingerprint is in place by the time you're in your young 20s and will remain the same until you pass away. And there's a couple exceptions for those, but we don't have time to talk about those today. What this behavioral fingerprint indicates for RBG is this movement from side to side. And if you're listening on our audio podcast, again, I'm Janine Driver, and I'm here with Susan Ibis and Lina Cisco and Michelle Dresbold, and we are the Profiler Task Force. Our website is theprofilertaskforce.com, as well as that's where you can follow us on YouTube and Facebook, the Profiler Task Force.com. I think it's without the. Right, just Profiler Task Force. Right. Give it a shot on both ways. We might as well do both. So here with RBG is, if you're listening at home, just simply lean on both sides of your chair. Just dip down, right? So if you just dip down, the ladies are doing it with me. This is descending and rising. And it connects to, the irony here is it connects to the scales of justice. And so these 2 moves out of the 12 are what RBG did the most. And I thought it was fascinating that he or she, is weighing pros and cons, and this is where the why lives. Why does this matter? And this is where judgmentalness comes in. And so is there an upside to being judgmental? And was RBG judgmental? Let's chat about that in a minute.
Would you like to talk about 1 or 2 of the cases that you think were most important in that?
Well, maybe I can speak about 2 cases. In the first one...
Okay, we're not going to listen to the cases. I just want you to see this slow movement if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook Live.
Watch the cases that you think were most important in that.
Well, maybe I can speak about 2 cases. Speak about 2 cases. Maybe I can speak about 2 cases.
So you see that movement, and all human beings on planet Earth make these 12 movements. These happen to be 2 of them that she's doing, this descending and rising. And we all do them. And so by the time you're 22, you could be speaking Russian, and I can profile you the same way my team profiled RBG to get her profile. Now we're looking for 250 of these movements to profile her. And we came up a little short, so this might not be 100% accurate, but usually your MPA profile is 99.9% accurate, just 0.1% off. Harvard University's done research on this, and Brown and a bunch of the Naval War College. And so here's just a little video clip of RBG doing the same exact thing. I just pulled different parts of her story and I'm having them on loop. So you can see she does this movement often. It's constant. And so this connects with evaluating. The interesting part that we're not talking about tonight is the next moves that she makes are leaning forward and leaning back. And those are anticipating moves. And we'll talk about that in a future segment with another celeb or notorious bad guy or snake or weasel, because we're doing both sides of the fence, the good guys and the bad guys. And that anticipating leaning forward and back is setting goals and measuring progress and updating plans. And just know this tiny piece about it. Her evaluating links with anticipating. So when Lina Cisco earlier, when you said that pausing and all of the, looking down and going emotional, and same thing, Michelle, like the fact that she was so caring, and Susan, it all links together as well with her movement pattern analysis profile, because everything she's going to say is going to be linked to tomorrow, to next week, to next year, to decades to come. So it literally is happening at the same time, and we just don't have time to show you examples.
And reminding the Congress too that there was a Fifth Amendment that protects people against self-incrimination. So I got the idea that it all might be a pretty good thing to do. My family had grave misgivings because we wanted to hire a lady lawyer, and it was very.
So you hear the judgment, right? The evaluating. I thought it would be a good idea. That's passing an evaluation there. And we'll explore, is it a judgment as well?
Then when I married Marty, the same month I graduated in law school, and it was okay for me to be a lawyer because if I couldn't get a job, I would have a husband to support me.
So she had such a great personality, and you can see right in the beginning of this clip, if you're watching it, as she begins to speak, she again does this descend and leans down in the corner of her chair. When I see these people all the time, and I'm one of them, I'm a high evaluator, the strength is that we want to know why the why is there. You know, we want you to land the plane. Why should I care about this? Why is this important to me? What your values are. This is where values live. Pros and cons here. And again, the scales of justice. The negative, every strength has a corresponding weakness, and the weakness to high evaluators is that we can be judgmental. So we can pass judgment. And I like to say, well, where would you be without judgmental people? See, if you just look at the word judgment, if you look at judgment, you can see, and I'm over at thesaurus.com, acumen, awareness, experience, intelligence, intuition, knowledge, perception, prudence, reasoning. All they did is add a couple letters at the end. Is all about awareness. See, judgmental people are the people that say to you, you look amazing, Lina Cisco. Susan Ibis, you killed it. Michelle, you blew my mind tonight. These are the people that say that presentation was great. You look so skinny. You are a smoking hot, sister. If you did not have judgmental people in your life, you would never, ever get a compliment. They are judging. They are evaluating the situation in the moment. So notorious RBG, we miss you dearly. You used your superpowers for good, not for evil. Your superpower of evaluating, linked to that anticipating, and you added value with what you did on this great planet of ours. You at home, are you doing the same? Are you using your evaluating, and are you using your judgments to add value, evaluate, adding value? Or are you devaluating people and devaluing them when you share your feedback? Start to pay attention. And if you're doing it with others, I've got to tell you where you're starting. You're doing it with yourself. So I'm going to invite you to notice that. And if you start to say bad things about yourself, my mother always taught me to say, cancel, cancel. So you may have to do some cancels and then add value. Listen, RGB was a cut above the rest. I know you at home are cut above the rest too, or you wouldn't be watching our show or listening to our show, because this is all about you have a gut feeling. Are you listening to your gut feeling? All right, ladies, before I'm like landing the plane, I'm saying goodbye to everyone. I didn't give you a chance to ask me any questions. So Michelle, do you have any questions about what I shared about RBG and this lateral movement that she made?
No, except I think I do it all the time. I think I'm moving all the time. I cannot sit still. I don't know if I just have ants in my pants, but now I'm just going to say I'm brilliant and judgmental.
Well, I'm going to have to profile you now, and it wouldn't surprise me, right? So evaluating is you're evaluating constantly people's handwritings and their strength. Right. We're going to have to profile you. Lina, any questions?
So it just, when I saw the picture of the scales, it made me think, because I'm a Libra and our sign is the scales. And I thought, is there a correlation between that? And I think you did do an assessment on me because I was leaning up, back and forth one time.
Yes, that's anticipating. Yes, which you totally do. As a matter of fact, we were going to call it quits on today's show. And you're like, if we call it quits, everyone's going to think we're a failure. Even if we have two people that are going to be here, we're going to let them down. They're going to hate our guts.
We're going to do it.
That's the anticipating. It's like thinking of hypotheticals that might happen even before they happen.
Yes.
So it can, and the strength is setting goals, measuring progress, and updating plans. But the corresponding weakness is it can be a little gloom and doomy and a little stressful if things are changing up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So how does it weigh in with my Libra and my balancing?
So that the whole Libra thing is something different. I don't know. I'm a Gemini, so I don't know. I can't tell you.
I'll investigate it.
Investigate. Well, there's about 8 billion people on the planet, and there's 36 billion different profiles on how we make decisions. So if someone says, Susan Ibis, you're 1 in a million, you should be offended. You should say, I'm actually 1 in 36 billion. All right, we're out of time. My name's Janine Driver. I've been your host tonight. Thanks, ladies, for letting me host the first show.
Thank you.
It's been so much fun. Michelle Dresbold, Lina Cisco, Susan Ibis. I'm Janine Driver, and we will see you every Wednesday, 9 to 10 p.m. We're not sure when the next episode will be, though, so we're open for your feedback. What could we do more of, less of? How can we make this the show that you want to tune into so we can help you not only know you have an intuition, but to begin to trust it and protect your family, your friends, and your finances, and have fun with us along the way. Have a great night, everyone. We're sending you some love.
Before we say goodbye, Lina, tell us about the Patreon, because people can have us one-on-one. Okay, we have a private session with us. What about if you can have one of the four of us only for you? Hey, never seen before. Lina, sorry, Janine, to cut you, but we forgot to tell Lina, you're in charge of that.
So, Lina, tell them about this Patreon thing. I love it.
All right. So there's a special place you can go, and it is called Patreon, if you haven't heard of it. We are I think the link is going to be below on this.
It's going to be below on the video. People can see it, and it's going to be showing right now on the screen, so people don't forget where to go.
Fabulous. When you access this, you have a chance to join our Patreon family. And so there's the 4 tiers that we have, and that means 4 levels of memberships. And when you become an ambassador of the Profiler Task Force, you get a lot of special stuff. So read about the tiers, because some of those tiers allow you to get a monthly video from us every single month with a special tip just for you. Some of those tiers allow you to join us a half an hour after our show that is just private, where we answer your questions. And it's kind of like an after party with us. You will get to know us very well. And some of them offer special coaching sessions and a chance to win free stuff and get mentioned on our show. So it's super exciting. Go check us out.
All right. Lina, thank you. Look, by the way, I don't know if you saw me doing this all throughout the whole entire show with my elbow puppet. This is what I'm saying. I do a lot of rising and descending like RBG. So I'm no RBG, believe me. I'm no RBG, but I think I hang out in the judgmental side a little too much. And I'm working on it. I'm trying to get the positive out there. All right. That's a wrap. We'll see you guys.
That's a wrap. Bye.
Our next show. Goodbye. We love you. Thanks for being here. Goodbye.
Bye.
It's over.